Tom Fichtner. Okay, I'm going to say Tom's not here yet. Good evening. This is the
Yes, I am.
Where are you? Are you?
I'm here. Where are you?
I'm in the office. Okay, so you're the one.
A recording just stepped in and covered you up, so you couldn't hear.
Okay,
But
so
yes, he's here.
okay, so all three of you are here. Cool.
Yes, ma'am.
All righty. Good evening. This is the open meeting of the Mendon Board of Health. Please being conducted remotely consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely as long as reasonable public access is afforded. You can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless the participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, the Board of Health is convening by telephone conference/video conference via Microsoft Teams as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join in. Please note that the meetings will be recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that all folks may be able to see you and that to take care of that, hit the non-share screen on your computer. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials have been provided. Members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Let's see, we are turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective. Oh, sorry, guys. Basically, in a nutshell, since it's just us and Lonnie, I'll go by the agenda. Don't talk over each other, keep your phones on mute, blah, blah, blah. I know this is really informal, but I'm sorry. And just yield to the chairman will yield to you on the floor if you have any comments, questions. With that, I turn to the first thing on the agenda was any updates on COVID-19. I am just getting back into the office and trying to get back in the swing of things. I have returned back into the office as of yesterday, full time. I know phase 3 of the governor's reopening started Monday, but I guess that is in a 3-phase section. To be quite honest with you, I have not had a chance to look at what that requires. I do know that part of that is a lot to do with sports. I know a special guidance came down for that, which I have sent off to Dan. Lonnie had asked about it, so when I got it, I sent it off to Lonnie. The only real update I have really for you guys is that Lenny did receive a complaint about an establishment, I guess from a resident. I'm not really sure, and that he has not been able to get to that property, so he has asked me to send a certified letter to that establishment, just reminding them that face coverings are required, especially in closed businesses, and that there is a fining mechanism for failing to comply that is up to $300. With that, I'd probably turn it over to, if you don't mind, Andy, Tom, and Tom can kind of talk about the different things maybe that he had dealt with while I'm out, or I don't know if you guys have anything more on COVID.
So are we done on COVID then?
Sorry, I was on mute. I couldn't get in. Yes, go ahead and go you, Tom. Thank you, Missy.
So looking for kind of just an update in the last week and a half or so. Is that the deal?
Yeah, I'd just like to let the board know anything important. I do have on the agenda an update on 65 Hartford Avenue West, which I do, in that you guys are going to review the scholarships. I do have a small update later regarding the town beach and their testing, and a property that I've reminded myself that's actually a failure up there. But I'll talk to you guys more about that afterwards.
Okay. Well, overall, there weren't too many heavy issues that came through, but I think Missy deserves some battle pay after the week and a half I went through. You laugh now, sir. So it was a combination of different things. It actually gives you some realizations of how much the Board of Health actually deals with. But, you know, for the most part, responses were given back to residents who called. Some of the inquiries were just about trash and confirmation of payment with the last billing cycle that we had. And we had senior or an individual who was interested in the senior discount program. So that information will be getting out to them. We had a couple of properties that were calling about looking to kind of, I guess they're in the process of looking to sell their homes. So of course they're looking to start the process of getting inspections and a couple of Title V scenarios there. But I was pretty well handled last week with a combination of Lenny and Tom stepping in. So busy week, but glad to hear Missy's back in the saddle. And like Missy alluded to, the big one is, which is a separate agenda item, 65 Outfit Ave West. When we get to that, we can maybe talk more details on that one. But back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for your help this week. As far as COVID, all I've seen on the news is that Massachusetts is doing extremely well. I haven't seen numbers today. Happy to hear that. Jacksonville, Florida, which is where my brother lives, only by chance that I happen to see that they are leading the nation, them and Houston, Texas, leading the nation in new cases and people not behaving and causing a lot of grief with the resurgence of the virus. So let's not be them. Other than that, go ahead.
Just a quick update. Anne did send me an email while I was out, and she said as of when she sent it, which was July 1st, Mendon had no active cases of any positive COVID patients.
Excellent. Good news. Thank you. Alan, do you have anything to add about COVID?
The only thing I can do is kind of echo what you already said, AJ, is that it's nice that we're doing well in the state of Massachusetts and that we're able to get as back to normal as possible. I've personally seen some of my business clients, their employees starting to return to reporting to the office, even if it's not at full capacity. They are getting back into work. So that's always a good thing to see. Other than that, I did observe a probable issue at the Muffin House. I noticed that the patrons were getting very lax, and the younger employees probably didn't have or didn't feel they had the authority to tell the patrons that they needed to space out. I only noticed that once, and like I said, there was a younger crew on duty, and I'm hoping that, you know, when the older shift leaders or whatever are on duty, that they keep the patrons on, you know, in order. I don't want to see anybody, you know, getting any kind of a issue. And, you know, we depend upon these people to stay open. Other than that, you know, slow and steady, and we seem to be winning the battle. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I went to on that same note, I went to my first dentist appointment since the beginning of this last night. And there's obviously some major changes there, and I pray that everybody's healthy because they got their face right in your mouth, and it was a good visit. They were all bundled up, and they had this huge vacuum cleaner thing that sucked up any gases that you expel. So it's nice that they can operate again. Everybody wants to be out there. We have Selectman Tinio on the call.
Yes, sir, I'm here. Just a quick question about on the Muffin House situation. So was everybody wearing their masks and when they just weren't socially distancing?
Lonnie, if you're addressing me, yes, the employees were doing everything that they were supposed to be doing. It just seemed as though the patrons were on the lax side as far as social distancing and wearing a full face covering. And I'm sure as an employee, a younger employee, it can be uncomfortable at times because you don't want to upset anyone, but yet you're kind of in the middle because you know what you're supposed to be following. So I was hoping that the patrons don't ruin it for the employees. Back to you, Mr. Chairman, or Lonnie.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess if somebody has it below their nose, and I'll just be the first to tell you that I'm the first one to pull it down below my nose. I'm not. I can't. It drives me nuts to have it up over my face. But if they have a face covering on, I thought that you wear the face coverings are required when social distancing can't be met, right? So if the face coverings on, social distancing should take a back seat. So if somebody, I'm just wondering, we're just being a little bit over the top on it. If somebody's trying to see what's in the muffin counter because somebody's taking an order, especially when you got somebody sitting 10 feet away or less than 6 feet away at a table that's not even wearing one at all because they're eating. Some of this stuff is just over the top, but that's just me being me. So I'll end it there.
Alan,
I
anything to add?
believe, yeah, I believe, it's posted that a face covering is required to enter, period. And again, I know as being a patron in there, it was getting a little uncomfortable for me only because I know what the rules are. And I was feeling for the employees because I can imagine what it's like if, X number of times a day, you have to keep correcting the crowd so that you can stay open. So I was being sympathetic towards the employees, and I was hoping that the patrons would look around and say, oh yeah, I'm supposed to do this. That's all I'm saying. Back to you.
I tend to agree with Lonnie, judging by what I've read and what I've heard. When social distancing can't be met, then but it's not a big deal. I'm sure they're fine. Thank you for noticing that, Alan. Does anybody else please speak up if you have anything to say about COVID? All right, I'll take that as a no. So while Missy was out, we had a phone call complaint about a property on Hartford Ave West. It's a rental property, and the landlord lives beside it, and the tenants were complaining that when they flushed the toilet, sewage was coming up in the shower. I went there with an officer, witnessed it, and in fact made him flush the toilet so that I could actually see that it was true, that that's what was happening, and it was. We went outside, and he said also the bathroom sink too. We went outside, and the septic pipe is completely disconnected, and the sewage is going on the ground, and the water from when they flushed the toilet was coming out of the side of the house. We formulated a letter. The officer and I went back, put the letter on the door for the landlord, and he's been mandated to pump the system, have a Title V inspection done, get this repaired. There are other issues in the house Tom has fielded some voicemail messages. The landlord was in New Hampshire for quite a while the weekend and was unavailable. He is back. Missy will get to that in a minute. Tom, could you please tell us about the voicemail messages? In addition to the sewer issue, there was some other stuff. Could you please tell us about that?
Yes, the renter that had called indicated that in addition to the septic issues that he was experiencing, he talked about some issues with the home itself from what sounds like a structural problem. Commented on a particular wall section that I think his words might have been like caving in. He indicated a potential foundation issue. I know that I believe he has also reached out to our building department, and I think is awaiting a visit by a building inspector to do an inspection from that perspective as well. And that's about it. Again, some messages were kind of repetitive, just reiterating what's happening. Additionally, after we became aware of the septic issue, we got a call from another renter indicating that they had no water. The phrase that was used was that the water tank blew up. In actuality, what happened was there was a weld that broke on the main water line, which the individual who's renting, the main person we've been dealing with, was able to secure an individual to come and repair that. So that piece has been solved. So that's good. I just advise to hang on to whatever expenses or costs or receipt perspective that you might have, and as these are things that are clearly the responsibility for the landlord to address. And that's it for the moment on that. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
They had mentioned when I first walked in there, Lenny has been there a few weeks ago because of a complaint of bed bugs. I wasn't in the door 2 seconds, and they immediately pounced on me and said, "This is where the bed bugs are." And I said, "Oh, wonderful." So I backed out. He's right as far as the structural things. I did notice, I'm not a building inspector, but the roof is caving in. There is stains in the ceiling. The roof is leaking. The house is in deplorable conditions. Again, it's a rental property with the landlord right next door, and his place is not as very desirable either. Missy, I have a question for you. 65, is that do you by any chance happen to know how many bedroom that property is?
Give me a quick second, I can tell you what it's assessed for, because I don't think I have anything for a septic plan, but give me 1 second.
Well, Missy's checking that. One thing I'll add, I don't know if you were updated, Andy or Alan, the tank did end up getting pumped. There was I guess I'll call him a good Samaritan, who was a friend of the landlord who had stopped by. Matter of fact, that individual actually took the notice off the door that was put up on the door and actually had read it. Had to end up having a conversation with the renters, and offered to help out. So they did secure the services of John Gibson to come out and pump the tank. So that was completed. But of course, after the tank had been pumped and they were doing some flushing to make sure things were working, John saw what you saw, Randy, which is basically things flying out of pipes in the backyard.
Yep.
And John responded with simply, "That's not good." So they got issues there.
Yes, they do. The Title V will be very interesting because what I saw, the backside of that property, the beavers had made what probably was relatively solid ground at one time. The beavers have made it a swamp, and the swamp water was right at the pipe that was broken. So I will be very, very surprised if that passes Title V. I do believe Missy said earlier to me in the office that somebody is pulling a, yeah, you did say that, pulling a perk test application, so they will be attempting to put a septic system in there. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. What do you see, Missy?
That is how, I have no, I don't have anything on the septic system for that location, but it is assessed as a 2-bedroom house. The property owner and his friend that took the letter did stop by the office. He did not enter the office. I did go to the door and speak to him, since right now the town buildings are still closed to the public. He told me that he was hiring Colonial Engineering to do a perk test. He didn't tell me when, but he is well aware that the system needs to be replaced.
Did they by any chance pull a perk test application?
As of right now, no,
So they're going to wait for the engineer to do it.
probably.
Where did you say Colonial is from?
Medway. The last time I knew, it's been a while since I've gotten plans from them, but the last time I knew, they were out of Medway.
Okay. All right, so we have some response to an issue that's pretty serious. So that's a good thing. We're getting some response, and hopefully it gets resolved. Well, time will tell. Anything else on this property?
That's all I have, that I can add to the issue going on.
Okay. Next on the agenda.
The next thing I have is the scholarships. I have resent the applications to you. Their names are still on it, but I figured I think Tom had a good point with the email that he sent me, that, to discuss these kids by name or whatever. So they're going to be applicant 1, 2, and 3. You'll see their names, but we'll refer to them as that. So as everyone knows, you guys give two $500 a year scholarship to graduating high school seniors that reside in the town of Mendon. Of the applications, we only received 3. 2 are from Nipmuc and 1 is from BBT. So I'm not sure if you guys have had a chance to review those at all, and I'm not sure if you guys are ready to award those tonight. So it's up to you guys how you want to handle it. I did request the money from Mike from Harvey to be submitted to us. So when they are awarded, we can send a congratulatory letter along with the check.
I'm ready to make a decision on these if Tom and Alan are. Tom?
I'm ready for discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, you start it. Alan.
Oh, okay. I don't have them numbered, so I'll use initials for the applicant's name. Is that okay?
Yep.
The easiest one for me to decide on was AS. Gonna study environmental science. High scores on the SATs. Good academic and sports, along with community service. So that was an easy one for me. The other 2, I'm gonna say in my mind are a tie.
Okay, Tom,
Anybody
your
else?
opinion?
Well, actually, in review of all 3 applications, I found them all very worthy, and I think there's some precedent to this. I would actually like to throw out a proposal.
All ears.
The proposal would be to actually award all 3 candidates a scholarship of $500 each.
So where's the funding for the other 500?
Tom's gonna pay it.
So when we did this before, I think as recently as maybe 2019, we had 4 candidates, and I believe we may have sought some approval. I think we had at the time Lisa and accounting involved, and we got the okay. So I know that two of them are actually financially supported through E.L. Harvey. So the third amount of $500 would have to come through our budget at the Board of Health. I think that's doable unless, Missy, you know of something in our budget that's extremely tight.
For one thing, I just sent a thing to Kim. We need $4,500 for additional trash for the month of June. But as far as, I'd have to look back to whatever year that was, because I don't know if you can spend your stipends that way. I know in the years past when we've deviated from it, we actually had additional monies because of whenever the scholarship money came in, or we still had maybe other obligations from when we had Republic, so there might have been extra money there. I don't have a problem looking into it, but I would just want to make sure that that's something you can legally do, because off the top of my head, I don't remember doing it that way. We very well could have. I just don't remember. Sorry.
Oh, no apologies.
I remember the discussion. I don't remember the outcome. And what triggered my remembrance was when you mentioned the stipends, the fact that we don't take it. I don't remember the outcome. But I like that idea because the decision is extremely hard. They are all well-deserving, all overachievers. It would be great to see that happen. So right now, I guess, with that being said, Missy's going to check into that. I think that we should not make a decision until we find out for sure. The other two, Tom, you agree?
I would support that, unless for some reason we thought we had to have a plan B so that if we knew we couldn't award all three, to pick two. But I think maybe we should wait. It's still time, I believe, to get some information and make the decision.
Thank you, Alan.
I have to agree. The other two made it very difficult to pick one. And I was actually hoping that through discussion, someone might be able to persuade me so that I could pick one. So I'm suffering the similar situation that you guys are in, and would like to see what Missy comes up with.
Great minds think alike. I was hoping the same thing, Alan. Okay. Missy, when will you check into that?
I'll send it first thing tomorrow. Yeah, if depending on what time we get done tonight, I'll send it to Eric tonight. Otherwise, first thing in the morning.
Okay. Probably next meeting we should have an answer.
Oh, I would think so. And your next meeting tentatively should be, if you're all in agreement, should be July 22nd, unless you guys feel that there is a need to meet beforehand. I'm not aware of any new guidelines or new opening phases between now and the 22nd. So on another thing kind of related to COVID, but not, I sent you guys a copy of an email that was sent to me by Superintendent Maruschek. I have sent him an email, one, making sure that he truly meant to send it to me, because it has to do with the reopening of the schools and looking for input. And he thanked me for volunteering, and I have no idea what he's talking about. So, but I did send it off to you guys, letting you know that, if there's any kind of additional information that the school is looking for, and that the Board of Health and myself would be more than willing to help them out, and we're here to assist them. But again, I don't know how I don't know if there's a different Missy that he meant to send it to, or did he truly mean to send it to me? But I don't know anything really about other than what was in the email that I forwarded off to you guys.
I think Tom volunteered you while he had the helm.
Yeah, did you see my response, Missy? Did you like that?
I did. That was good. That was good.
What was your response?
You want me to tell you? Okay. You ready for my response?
Yep.
Okay. This was to Missy. I said, good morning. The board had a socially distant but thirst-quenching meeting while you were on vacation. It was determined that since your fuel cells would be all charged up and ready to go, that it would only make sense that you be the volunteer representative for the Board of Health, not to mention the fact of you being the resident COVID-19 authority. And then I said, gentlemen, did we forget to tell her? Whoops.
We?
I got it.
I ain't going down alone.
I definitely got a chuckle out of that one. That made me laugh.
Well done, Tom.
Thank you.
Yeah, kudos.
Another topic for discussion that just came in to me through email. Jill DeTrainum, she's the woman that does our calendars, has sent me a print of, for us to look over. And for the last time we sent out the calendars, there was one addition that I had marked down on it to change for this upcoming calendar. And that is to add on it, probably where we describe the information about the trash billing and whatnot, to add in there in big, bold letters, something to the effect that all trash and recycling must be out on your scheduled day by 7 a.m. I've had people who, they rely on, you guys know the stories. They rely on Phil. They say Phil comes every week at 10 o'clock. Phil goes on vacation. The driver doesn't pay attention to Phil's route, and they're at their house at 8 a.m. I've had people tell me, I didn't sign up for my trash to be picked up at 7 in the morning. It's not listed on the bills, but I think there was a conversation I had with Andy, and he said, make sure that we had it on for the calendars this time. So if you guys have any ideas, I know I'm kind of throwing this at you at late notice, but I will also need to get these calendars out as soon as possible. So, Andy?
Is it on the bill also?
No, it's not on the bill.
Is it possible to put it on the bill also? Because that seems to be a point of contention for many people often.
I can look the next time we send out a bill to have the layout redone. To add that trash has to be out by trash and recycling has to be out curbside by 7 a.m. on your scheduled day. So I don't want to say regular, because regular means what do you do with a holiday? So on your scheduled day. I don't know what you guys think of that.
Good point. Thank you. Any discussion?
Anyone in particular? Go ahead, Alan.
Tom?
You start.
Okay.
I'm good with putting that, bold. I don't know that much, but geez, for some reason, that seems to be the one thing that I can remember is trash day, 7 a.m.
And it's not just Mendon. It was like this in Oakdale, too.
Yeah, I kind of thought that was understood, but if we got to
It's every
spell it
town.
out, let's spell it out. Next.
Tom?
So I believe we've been down this road before over the years. And I believe if it wasn't done on the past calendar, we have specifically put it in on literature that the trash has to be out, because there have been times we've listed conditions of do's and don'ts, and that had been one of them.
Yeah.
So
it had been on the previous calendar, but then we kind of changed up the form and went more into the explanation of the trash billing, since that also seemed to be a bone of contention with people. So with that happened, the 7 a.m. thing kind of got dropped somehow. So there's definitely enough room on the port. I could ask Gilda to do it in 2 different spots. We could try and do it under the trash billing information. There's a big gap between the trash information, the billing information, and then there's another section that says metal and burnable bulk, and it gives Harvey's number and blah, blah, blah. In there, we could put it in big bold letters about the 7 a.m. And then we could also, on the other side where the grid is and the actual calendar and everything, which is probably what most people will have facing them anyways, somewhere writing it in there in big bold letters. Trash and recycling must be curbside on your scheduled day by 7 a.m. or something like that.
And it's also on your website and it's on your recording, isn't it?
Well,
I
it's
know
definitely on the website because I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, I know it's on the website, but is it on the recording right now? No,
Yes.
because my recording is so long right now.
Yeah.
But typically, I will put it on there, especially with the when the messages, the recording's much shorter, especially when there is a trash bill due. So
So out of
Every town.
curiosity, where the feedback is, this feedback is coming from, Missy, are you able to discern whether these individuals are newbies to the program, or are these individuals that have had the program for years?
I think it's a mix.
It's a mix. Okay.
Yeah, you got some people because, like I said, Phil goes on vacation and you can set your time to Phil, blah, blah, blah. And then some of them are newbies. But when someone calls and starts off service and I have to explain the whole process to them, I will tell them that because it's been such a prominent thing, I will tell them, don't forget trash and recycling has to be out by 7 a.m. on your scheduled day. And I also get into the whole cardboard cutting and, how small the pieces have to be and things like that. So.
Is this a good time to ask our illustrious select board person, Lonnie, what his thoughts are on that?
He's gone.
Oh, he's gone. Okay. All right. Well, we just have to put it out there in a couple more places and, I guess, be consistent. And so people, wherever they're looking at literature, they see that.
All right. Sounds good. So you had mentioned that regularly scheduled meeting would be the 22nd. I will not be available on the 22nd.
Okay. How about you and Tom? How about you, Tom, and you, Alan? Are you available?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
Okay. So do you still want to meet on the 22nd?
Is it just that day, Andy, or is it that week, or
No, just that day.
unless you want to shift it to a Thursday?
You guys can either have it without me or we can move it. It doesn't matter to me. We're pretty much under control right now. We're coasting, so that's a good thing. The only,
We can go
the
the
only thing is-
23rd.
I can go either way.
What'd you say, Missy?
Say that again, Alan. Say that again.
Yeah, you heard me.
You didn't think I'd catch it, did you? For those who missed it, Alan said he can go either way. Sorry, Alan.
That's okay.
I'll be looking over my shoulder.
In today's world, the rainbow is wonderful.
Okay.
We're all learning. We're all learning to be acceptable of everything, whether it's easy for us to accept or not. And I'm
Yep.
glad that we're getting better at it.
That's right. All right. So I don't care one way or the other. If you guys want to do it the day earlier, go without me, go another week, whatever you want to do. I don't care.
I would defer then to the vice chairman on what he would like to do.
Uh-oh. Why don't we just keep it on schedule, and we'll make sure that we let AJ know right away what we discussed.
So Andy, that means expect a phone call by 7:30, the 23rd from me.
I will let you know once you get back to me prior to the meeting about the scholarship. I will let you know if it is only 2. I will let you know my choice.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
Question on the scholarship.
Yep.
Do we know if there's any chance if maybe Javi would expand their budget for this?
I can ask Mike. I mean, the worst thing they can say is it's not in the contract.
And that's fine.
You know,
but you never know if things are going well for them. They may want to help us out.
Yeah. No, I can definitely pose it to Mike and see what they say.
Just
Thank you.
just a point. My only suggestion on that is, if we do make a change, it would be considered a precedent whether we go to 3 scholarships, and if they don't do it next year, now it's going to be on record that we've given 3 scholarships, or if we give our stipends, if they are available and it can be done. Now we've given 3, so now do we do it every year? Hello?
I think that if the 3 of you stay on board, and prior to maybe sending out the scholarships, maybe you guys voting on if this is an allowable use, and it requires a vote, maybe you guys voting that you're willing to give up your stipends or have them reallocated to a scholarship.
Do we still have the rights for those stipends, whereas we haven't filled out the paperwork?
Yeah, it's voted on every year.
Okay.
Personally, I think Board of Health should get more money than the pittance that they give you, but who am I?
Oh, you know what? I don't know if Tom or Alan were at the town meeting or heard anything about it, but please fill them in about the comment about the revolving account.
Oh, so after the town meeting, I got an email from the town administrator. Now I gotta find it, regarding the error on the revolving accounts. And not to worry about it, it will be voted on in November. I don't know when you guys were ever approved for a revolving account, unless you guys know something that I don't know.
You don't, was that last part of the statement, Missy?
Unless you guys know something that I don't know.
Well, as last I understood, it was a matter of us actually meeting with FinCom. That meeting has kind of been elusive over the past few months. And then it was, I know that I think they were pretty much on board with the concept. So I think it was more of a formality after discussing with them. And then just basically putting it into an actual request to be on a warrant.
But no, there's never been a request, because my understanding that the FinCom might have been on board, if I remember right. But I thought Kim wanted a deep dive on the trash and my time, my benefits, anybody else who had anything else to do with the trash, blah, blah, blah. And to my knowledge, none of that ever happened.
Was it on the warrant?
We were still waiting for that kind of a formal agreement between the FinCom and us as a board to say, okay, we're going to move this forward. We support what you're looking to do. And then the next step would be, of course, to get it as a warrant item for voting. So you're right.
Was it on the warrant?
Requested.
Was it on the warrant? To be quite honest with you, I don't know. Because I never got to see a full copy of the warrant. And
what was your question, Andy?
Was it on the warrant?
This particular for Board of Health? No, it was not.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I didn't see it.
No, it wasn't. We were still waiting for that to happen, but the first thing that was going to happen was we were going to have a meeting with FinCom to basically just finalize the
Yes,
details.
I remember that.
Yeah, and then after that, then it was just going to be a matter of, okay, great, we got FinCom's blessing, we can move forward, and we write up the article and we submit it for the town warrant. That just didn't happen yet. That's all.
Right. So the
I remember.
Go ahead, Alan.
I remember it very similar to what Missy said. It seemed as though whoever the contract people were using for accounting kind of put the brakes on it. I remember they said it was going to interfere with the town's bond rating by taking that $400,000 sort of out of the town's coffers, and that put the brakes on it. And then trying to get hold of trying to get on a meeting with FinCom became a problem. So I remember it very similar to what Missy said. That's
well,
it.
the viewpoint from the town hall perspective is just that, it's a viewpoint, which I think from a Board of Health perspective, we universally disagree with. That they've had that viewpoint for a while. Irrespective of their viewpoint, that didn't anyway, put the hold on us actually requesting it and putting it on the warrant, did it?
The way I remember it, it did.
So we actually, at one point, because I know we did do a write-up when we were talking about, the enterprise funds, remember?
Mm-hmm.
A couple years back, right? And we're debating which way to go, whether it be an enterprise fund or a revolving account.
Right.
And I think at that point, when we actually put down options, because we actually created wording for each of those, I remember at that point that, the town hall accounting, where there was concerns at the administration level that whether or not that amount of money should be taken off of the, like I said, from the general fund.
Correct. And there was some discussion as to whether or not it should be an enterprise account. And that's when the deep dive scenario came into effect, as to where every minute had to be accounted for.
Well, that was their desire. Yeah, that was their desire to want to micromanage this thing, which is, in my opinion,
I agree.
Flat out ridiculous.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
I agree completely. I agree completely.
Yeah.
But like
But
I said,
But I think in follow-up, though, even since that issue, we've been approached a couple of times by Mike. We just haven't been able to solidify that meeting because I believe, at least from his perspective anyway, I think they would support it.
From what I've heard from Mike, yes, they do.
Yeah, that would be, and if we have FinCom support, irrespective of what might be thought elsewhere, I think it would be a matter of taking it and actually requesting it on a warrant, and then it would be up to the selectmen to determine whether it would be voted on or not. I don't think we ever did that. I don't think we ever got to that step, did we?
Right. I don't ever remember the selectmen being on board for it, but let me just, this is what I kind of confused me, because in her email, she wrote, at some point in time during the course of the warrant process this year, the BOH revolving account limits were removed from the versions of the warrant. The final printed version did not include those limits, so it could be not voted on last night. The good news, it's a simple fix. We just vote on the limits in November, which we have done in other fiscal years. Whether the vote is at annual or special, it does not matter because the funding's already established and in place. She says, in short, nothing needs to be done at this time. We now have our first article for November, less than 24 hours after the special annual town meeting. I I've seen that article come up in the past, and I've always been told it was there in error. So I don't know what anybody's talking about. And this went out to Cindy Amara, Laura St. John, Dupree, Mike Maroli, myself, and then the Board of Health, which also would get sent to me, I think. But so I don't know anything about revolving accounts. I don't know anything about enterprise accounts. And I did ask that if the time that the Board of Health did get awarded one, if someone could show me how these accounts are going to be run, and that's never happened. So I'm just a little confused, and I might follow up with Kim tomorrow and ask her, you know, what happened? How do we now have, is it just one revolving account for engineering? Is it two revolving accounts? I have no idea. Not a clue.
Missy,
Yep.
is this time of year a time when the FinCom is busy?
No, I would say this is when they start to slow down because budgets start going in December.
Do they have a conference call meetings?
I would assume, since that's how everybody's doing it right now.
Okay, I know some boards I've told in other towns they just haven't met, and I find that hard to believe, but that's what I've been told. But I've been lied to before. I was just wondering if this might be a good time of year since we're pretty much we're right now. COVID is under control. We have minimal things on our plate, and if they're slowing down, would it be a good time to have a joint conference call either at their time or our time and start discussions? Whether anything comes from it, at least if we start discussions, we can all have a better idea and a better understanding of where we stand, where we sit.
I think it's a great idea.
Tom?
Absolutely, good idea.
Alan?
I'm on board.
Okay. So, if we are going to, Alan said keep the meeting the 22nd, so maybe 2 meetings away or change the date. I don't care. If they're available, would you reach out to Tom Maroli and ask him if they would be receptive, or maybe their meetings are on a different night? But right now, the 22nd is the only night I'm not available.
Their meetings are on Wednesdays, the last time I knew. That's why a lot of the times when budget hearings go on and stuff, someone would have to leave and go to that meeting because we meet at the same time, or we would just tell them that you'd be there after our meeting, but they meet on Wednesdays.
Okay.
But let me email Mike and get some, because they might not have any meetings scheduled right now. So let me just, send them an email, letting them know that you guys want to talk and what dates do you have available, and we're pretty flexible, and go from there. Do you want me to include Kim on this?
Not right away.
Okay.
Let's get some kind of a plan together, and I think that as we get closer to a decision and an agreement between both boards, then we can pick her brain with it and see where she stands with it.
Okay.
At this point, according to the FinCom page, there's nothing on the calendar for any meetings in July anyway, so.
Okay. Maybe everybody's on vacation. Where are they going?
Mm-hmm.
Florida.
Yeah.
There's one more thing I want to talk to you guys about, and then that's everything. It's definitely would be under old business, very, very old business. A few years back, we received a failed Title V from for a property on the lake. The woman, I remember I had talked to her. She said she lived out in Wisconsin and that the property wasn't going to be used, blah, blah, blah. So she wasn't going to fix it anytime soon. I can ask Tom Ryder, but at a certain point in time, if you have a Title V that's in failure, it doesn't matter if it's vacant or not. It has to be corrected. When it's bubbling out like the other property we discussed earlier tonight, where there's an actual issue, it has to be done immediately. It can't wait. There's no time period for that.
It's a health hazard.
Right. So with this one, I'm gonna get a letter ready together. I'm gonna send it off to Tom Ryder for his review, because as you guys know, my daughter Caitlin works at the snack shack at the town beach. And so when I go pick her up, I've noticed cars at this house, like on a regular basis, not workers or anything like that. So I think as the lake is a resource, a precious resource, that the townspeople like to enjoy. And there are years that we have had high testing where we've had to close down. I think this property needs to be revisited. I wasn't sure how you guys felt about it.
I agree. I concur. Tom?
Well, yeah, we definitely should do a follow-up and get back in front of them again and have the discussion. Just one thing, I don't think we should necessarily be concerned about any contamination from that into the lake, only because a couple of years back we did a public hearing and we had a woman from, I think the state lab came out, and it was when beach numbers were running a little bit high for E. coli, and there was some concern about whether or not there might be not contaminated, but systems that might be at issue that could be contaminating the lake. And the woman's response was, if that were the case, if that had been that kind of exposure to the water, the data would have been off the charts. So I think that kind of alleviated all of our concerns, that did not appear to be the source of any issues that might come up in any, poor testing of the lake water, if I'm correct on that. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
That was the meeting we had up on the third floor of the town hall, wasn't it?
Yes.
Correct, yes.
Yeah. Hey, Missy,
Yes.
you'll be happy to know it's raining in my meeting room. Okay.
Nice.
So, Alan, do you have a thought on revisiting this property as far as a Title V inspection and getting some kind of communication to this woman and say, okay, look, we got to be done?
Yes, absolutely, especially if the property is now being used in some form.
Okay. Missy, is there a chapter and section that will be cited? Will Lenny do that letter, or will Tom Ryder do that letter?
I will have Tom Ryder do it.
Thank you.
But I just want to go back, and what Tom said was right. We did have, I think her name was Katie, come from Microbac, and she did say that if the culprit of the results from the town beach were due to failing septic system or systems, that the result level would be much higher than what it has been.
Do you remember that?
So
all right,
that's,
you will reach out to Tom Ryder for his assistance on that?
yes.
Okay. Was that what Tom called me for today? Do you know?
No, because I haven't brought that up to him yet.
So was that the Colonial Engineering?
Nope, I don't know why he called you. I know he's been doing some perk tests for us. While he hasn't gotten the clearance yet to go back to work from his surgery. So his wife has been bringing him out, but he's going to be doing, I believe, 2 deboxes tomorrow. So he has definitely been helping us out as far as getting septic inspections done. I did speak to Lenny this week, and he feels that he's getting better, and that with COVID kind of dying down, that we might be able to get into more of a better situation. But I did forward you guys off a copy of our proposed contract that Steve Donatelli sent to me. So I think at some point in time, maybe if you guys are interested, if Lenny or Tom ever have an issue, I would just peruse that contract with Steve, just so you have someone in mind if something were to happen and we're in a pickle. And
I have
just,
a question about that.
yeah,
Is it possible to have a contract, under a contract, if there was no work done, if we did not use them, we do not owe them any money, correct?
it would all depend on how the contract would be written, but it's a service contract, so if there's no services provided, I
Yeah.
would say we wouldn't owe him anything, but again, we would have to
Okay.
look
So-
at it.
Yeah, we would have to have counsel look at it before we signed anything. But my
Mhm.
thought is, and we don't have a contract with Lenny, we don't have any kind of a structured fee system from Lenny either.
No,
And I think we should have that. And I think we should have that from Tom Ryder also. And if we had contracts with all three, and if it was a service contract, whereas there was no services used, if we had number one being Lenny, I can't make it. Okay, thank you. Not a problem, Lenny. Have a good day. Number two, Tom Ryder. I'm assuming Tom's a little bit cheaper than Steve. Don't know that to be true. I'm just using this for an example. We go to number two. Tom, Lenny can't make it, or you don't even have to tell him. Tom, we've got a perk test or we've got a component inspection or something. Can you get to it? No, I can't. Okay, Steve, you're up. Only thing is with that, Steve is much more money. He's well worth it. And if we signed with him and we agreed to that, the cost has to be passed on to the builder, the homeowner, or whoever. And we have to be careful as far as our fee structure to make sure that we take enough in fee to cover any expenditures that we may have if in fact we have to go to Plan C, which is the most expensive inspector. Does that sound right to you, Missy?
yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Yeah, I get the point, in terms of, Steve's cost could be higher. Matter of fact, I'm actually looking at the, copy of what you sent us, Missy, the contract for, public and environmental health engineer agent. And it lists the, pricings on there of the different things. Maybe you know off the top of your head, this list of pricing that's on the contract, how that compares to what, we're currently facing. But you're right, we want to make sure that the, the fees will cover. But it's going to be hard to, maybe in the beginning, hard to gauge is if Steve is just a backup, so to speak, if Lenny still becomes our primary, if our current fees are covering his prices, which I think they do, and with probably some room, we could probably absorb possibly a handful of times when Steve comes forward. But as that changes and at some point we could see less of Lenny and more of Steve, yeah, we have to keep in mind that possible, fee schedule adjustment might be warranted. And just one question about this contract, Missy. Was this something drawn up by legal/town administration, or?
No, this was something I had sent an email to Steve that you guys would be interested, but we would need a contract. And I'm going to assume, because Steve does do work for other towns in this area, it's probably a very similar contract. But regardless, I would always send it off to council for their review too.
Now, out of curiosity, is Lenny currently under this type of a thing, arrangement, or no?
No, Lenny. So to go back to how we got Lenny, years ago, when it was, Lenny came on as health agent, meaning he'd only did housing inspections, restaurant inspections, that type of work. When we got rid of Cullinan Engineering, the town, because we used to have Cullinan Engineering. We had Bob Duff and Bill Richards, and they serviced not only the Board of Health, but they serviced the Planning Board, Conservation, and maybe Highway too. So one firm handled everything. There was the town wasn't very happy with the services that we received. We were going through trying to get someone to come in and do perk tests, septic plan reviews. Lenny had just happened to come, he was already our health agent. He was willing to help out and start doing the perk testing and the septic inspections, but he didn't want any part of plan review. So at that point, the board got a proposal from a gentleman by the name of John Lavin. The board wasn't happy with his work. And that is when we started having Tom Ryder. In a nutshell, that's how things kind of happened. So there's no formal structure with Lenny. There never has been with either kind of job that he's done for the town, either as health agent or Title V inspector.
Can this new entity come under the same structure, or is that going to have to get modified?
I'm going to say it's going to have to become modified because of the things that was going on before COVID hit. As far as, is Lenny a contractor? Is he needs to be an employee? Steve would be considered a contractor, just like Tom is considered a contractor.
And Steve has all the proper paperwork. He has the liability insurance. He runs a real business. Lenny is retired and can only do so much. We all know that, what we just went through. So again, I really don't want to see Lenny go anywhere, but we have something to do.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. Alan, how you feeling about all this?
No, I have to agree, and I follow some of Tom's thoughts where if Steve would be third in line, so to speak, we could probably average things out for a while before we had to adjust our fee schedule, and when that time comes, that's what we have to do. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
We would definitely have to be very, very careful, and I know, Missy, you are, because with an additional cost like that for someone that's more money, we could end up in the red and in trouble very fast if we weren't covering contract fees with application fees. Missy, do you know if Tom Ryder is interested in even being on that list and doing our perks and our inspections on a regular basis?
I don't think Tom really is, or I should say, I don't think Tom, once he goes back to work, and I think it's in Needham, when he gets to go ahead, I don't think Tom is going to have the open scheduling, so to speak, he's not local. He's not local, so he doesn't even live in this area. So even after work to stop by, but I just know Tom was willing to, for what he was able to do, to help Lenny out, he was willing to. But if he gets the okay tomorrow to go back and Lenny still feels a little overwhelmed or whatever the case may be, then we would have to look at Steve. So Tom's willing to help out, but is he going to be able to do this permanently? I don't think so. I don't think his schedule would be that flexible to what people are used to getting.
Yeah, I don't think so either. As I was thinking about it, putting him on the list, I don't think so either. Is he going to a doctor's appointment tomorrow?
No, I'm just putting that out there. I'm just as an example.
Okay. It's been a win-win for him. He's got the time off, and he's been able to make a few extra bucks doing these. What'd you say, his wife drives him out here?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's going to help him. It gets him out of the house, keeps him active, and makes him a couple bucks. So that's a good thing. So it was a good fit. But I think I'm in agreement with you because we've asked him before and he couldn't make it, as I remember, because of geographically. All right, so the thought right now would be Lenny and Steve. And the two numbers I know are way off. I don't know if you guys are aware of that, between what Lenny charges us and what Steve is applying for. Those two numbers are way off. Like 3 times the money what Lenny gets for like a perk test and what Steve is applying for. Am I correct with that, Missy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking at his fee schedule. The only time that Steve and Lenny are compatible is if you're to do a D-box inspection. They're pretty much even. He'll charge us 75, which is about what Lenny charges too. But his perk, a deep hole perk test, I think that's 300. So installation of a septic system. So, bottom component, final. I think he does also a grading and stabilization. I don't know, Andy, if that's part of the final inspection. I'm not really sure. His is
Yeah, there's three inspections for Title V in septic system inspection. You dig the hole. There's a bottom inspection. Make sure you got all the impervious materials out of the hole. You fill it with sewer gravel. Once you get the okay, you fill it with sewer gravel, install your system with all your components. Then there's a component inspection. They make sure that everything's done appropriately in the field and the tank and the connection to the house. And then they give you the thumbs up, and then you backfill it, you grade it, and you seed it. It's called stabilization. They make sure that the pitch is right and it is stabilized either with hydro seeding, grass, mulch, whatever. So there's 3 inspections.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, he's more expensive than Lenny, but for 3 inspections, if he's charging 300, Lenny would charge 225. So there's definitely a difference. The biggest difference is when it comes down to perk testing. Steve would charge 300, where Lenny would be, I think it's 75. But then, in all honesty, depending on how long Lenny's out there, will determine how much Lenny would get paid. Meaning if it turns into an all-day perk, like one of them, I believe, that Tom had to go do was that one deep in the woods, or the one on Uxbridge Road where they kept on digging and digging and digging and they couldn't find anything. So that was the one that Bob Poxon talked about last week. So the other thing too is you probably need someone on the food establishment side, housing side, just in case Lenny's not around and something comes up. We should have a backup for that.
So that price you were just referring to, Missy, that was percolation test only? Was that your reference of that pricing?
It's the
Or the
percolation.
percolation deep hole soil evaluation?
Right.
Okay. That's okay. So he's got that. Steve has that at 250.
250. Okay. So yeah, that's what yep. And then I guess depending on if he has it broken down even more, if there's just the percolation test or just a deep hole, depending on what the situation is out. So.
Right. Okay.
So just some food for thought for you guys to think about. That's all.
On the restaurant and the store inspections, do we have any ideas for a backup?
The only thing, I mean, Tom Ryder would give me a name of a woman. She works out closer to where he works. She wouldn't be able to do it permanently, like be our health agent, which is not what we're looking for. Just looking for a backup, which she might be interested. I would also talk to Lenny as far as I know for last week when he was not available, we had some food inspections, a truck inspection and whatnot. And he had the woman from Milford, their food inspector, come out and help. So I don't know if that would be a good fit, but either way, it just has to be structured the right way. If the food inspector was going to come on permanently, this is where things kind of get a little, I don't want to say sketchy because that's not the right word, but if this is going to be a permanent thing with Steve, then technically we'd have to go out and ask for proposals. If this woman, if she would become an employee, then we would have to advertise it as a job. If she'd come in as a contractor, again, we would have to ask for proposals. That's just how it works. And it didn't happen when we hired Lenny many years ago, but it did happen when we hired Tom Ryder.
Just Tom and Alan, just food for thought. I had opportunity to talk to a woman in another town. She's a Lenny, if you will. She's much prettier. and she does septic. She's the whole enchilada. Restaurants, food establishments, housing, and she gets $88,000 a year. And I was like, oops, sorry, Mendon, I don't think we'll compare to that one. So just to give you an idea of what we could be facing, not to say that that's somebody we could afford, but Lenny is a gift because of his, they call him the legend all over the state because he's been around so long. He knows so much. People go to him for answers. He's very affordable. So we don't want to lose him. We all know that. But just food for thought.
Geez, I might have a new field of opportunity when I retire. 88,000,
Yep.
huh?
Get the degrees. Go to college. It's above
I
my
gotta
knowledge.
Pass around a few 20s, Andy. Come on, you know that.
There you go. Yeah, but this day and age, a 20 is like a 1, so you're going to be talking multi-zeros.
Yeah, I was afraid you'd say that.
Everything's expensive. Are you kidding me? All right, so we all have something to think about now, so that's all good. Would you let us know, please, Missy, if the FinCom is available, and if you want to change it, just you know how to get a hold of me. You can find me, right?
Oh, I definitely can find you.
All right.
That's all I have for you guys as far as any updates, old business, things of that nature. I don't know if any of you guys have anything for me.
Tom?
Well, two things. One of the things that came up as you were talking about Monday as a follow-up about that 18 Maury Street. And I know that that was the print that you were going to send off to Tom. He was going to review to determine if that could be considered a 3-bedroom versus a 2-bedroom.
Yep, I've sent it off to Tom, and I'm waiting to hear back.
Okay, great. And the only other thing would be more of a housekeeping note. I just happened to notice that our newly elected board member, Mr. Greenberg's date of term needs to change to reflect his new status.
Oh, that's right. Yep. Update website.
And that's it for me.
Alan?
The only thing I have is I didn't know if you guys or Missy noticed the state did detect triple E out in the, I believe, the Orange area. And I understand that they're going to be doing some increased trapping and testing to monitor it. So thank you to my fellow board members and Missy for and the animal inspector, along with concerned citizens, for assisting me in getting ahead of that. Greatly appreciated. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I saw something on Facebook, now that you mentioned Kevin, the animal facility down there at the recycling center. Kevin also, one of many towns that he services for numerous animals is Mendon also. And they're looking to, they have a GoFundMe page to, they have to seal the concrete floors because right now they're porous, and that's one of the things that they want to start with before they move back into this facility that's been dormant for a while. And they have a company that's come forward and given them, I don't know what the estimate was, but there is a GoFundMe page for the, you can call Kevin Sullivan if you can't find it, if you have any interest in making a donation to help them get this facility going, because they do service Mendon also. That's it. It stopped raining. And I didn't leave. All right. If it wouldn't be a violation of the regulations, I'd say you guys can all come up here next time. It's nice and comfy on the back porch.
Well, we could said it'd be a violation. We could be socially distant.
We could post it. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
That doesn't mean we all have to be in different places,
No.
No,
right?
as long as you're
Plenty of
posted
room.
and the.
Fire up the grill.
The grill's still going. I just ate the pork chops. All right.
All of them?
Nah, unfortunately, Alan, I ate 4 of them. There was 6. I just looked in the dish and I went, where'd that last one go? I don't remember eating the 4th one. I hate it when that happens.
Yeah, me too.
All righty.
Alrighty.
Motion,
All right,
please.
motion to adjourn?
Tom,
Okay, I'll second.
Alrighty, I
Okay.
will be in touch with you guys as far as any updates with the FinCom and anything else that comes up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Night,
Have a good
Gracie.
Good night.